Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker leaks suggested Death Stars are back. I mean, Jesus, with this Death Star, almost every movie. The Death Star is either referenced, featured, or ripped off. Right? I mean, we go back episode 2, we see a hologram of the Death Star. Then we go episode 3 at the end, we see Death Star is under construction. Then you have Rogue One, which is about the Death Star and stealing the plans from the Death Star, the original Death Star. Then, of course, in A New Hope, the Death Star is the ultimate weapon that the rebels need to overcome. And then we go to Return of the Jedi, where we have Death Star 2, where even George Lucas goes back to the Death Star. And then we get The Force Awakens, which, we have Starkiller Base, which is a straight up rip on the original Death Star concept. And then even in The Last Jedi, we get those battering ram cannons, which are quote unquote Death Star tech. Here we go again. I mean, we got a Death Star in the ocean. From the Death Star 2 is seen in the trailer for the Rise of Skywalker, and apparently there's going to be more Death Stars featured in this movie, or Death Star technology. And it's just, I mean, can we get away from the Death Star at this point and just move on to something bigger and better and badder? What could possibly be more terrifying than the original Death Star? I mean, we've just about seen it all, haven't we?
That's no moon.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
Turn the ship around.
Yeah, I think you're right.
How's it going, everybody? This is this is Phil. Jesus, the Rise of Skywalker. It's months away at this point, and we're gonna get more leaks as we get closer. So I guess you got to take them with a grain of salt or a pinch of sugar, or whatever the case may be. But JJ Abrams, it's no secret that he's trying to tie the whole entire saga up and work in as many elements as he possibly can from the expanded universe, from the prequels, from the original trilogy, from the Clone Wars, whatever he possibly can. You're going to see something plucked from some type of Star Wars somewhere, video games, who knows what the hell he's been digging into. There's got to be a big bad thing that the rebels or the resistance, they need to overcome. So in this movie, he put on his thinking cap and he sat down and he approached his creative team, and it hit him like a bolt of lightning. He goes into a room and he tells his team,
"Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription
is apparently more Death Star." I mean, let's get as much Death Star as we can into this movie, because everyone loves Death Star. It's the cowbell of the Star Wars universe. So here we go. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker leaks suggest the Death Stars are back. This article is over on Newsweek.com. The author here is Andrew Whalen, and let's get into this. Let's see what's doing. Let's get more Death Star in our lives, everybody. Before revealing the return of Darth Sidious, Emperor Sheev Palpatine, the first trailer for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker shows the ruination of his evil design for the galaxy, with a shot of Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron looking across alien waters at the wreckage of the second Death Star, destroyed by the Rebel Alliance at the end of 1983's Return of the Jedi. But while planet-destroying star bases have failed both the Galactic Empire and the New Order, new leaks suggest they still haven't given up on the technology. Why would you? According to Make It Star Wars, which is assembled parts of the Rise of Skywalker plot from leaks attributed to multiple anonymous sources, Episode 9 won't feature another cumbersome space station, but we'll see the return of Death Star technology. So much like The Last Jedi, where they used the battering ram laser cannon to take down the rebel base on Crate, we'll see something in that form make an appearance in this movie. So the leaks include major spoilers for the next Star Wars, particularly surrounding the mysterious fleet, which may belong to a resurrected Emperor Palpatine. So there they are, and one would assume this is the forest moon of Endor, and this is obviously the wreckage of Death Star 2. And then you see Rey and Poe and Finn's over here off in the corner taking a leak. So it says, the fleet has been hiding in the unknown regions, surviving in the galaxy's most dangerous regions in pursuance of Palpatine's final orders. Fleet personnel includes the Red Sith Stormtroopers introduced at San Diego Comic-Con, with leaks suggesting there's also a Sith Jump Trooper variant equipped with red TIE fighters and jetpacks. So everything's red. Red is the new black in this movie. So like the elite stormtroopers, the fleet's star destroyers are also enhanced, with each ship equipped with planet-destroying weapons like the one on the Death Star itself, according to one of Making Star Wars anonymous sources. The Force Awakens Starkiller Base became emblematic of the Star Wars sequel trilogy's surplus of callbacks and nostalgic retreads. Even the characters in the movie acted exasperated at the technology's return, with one Resistance officer lamenting, "It's another Death Star?" that's the way I feel. Dameron rebuts this point by pointing out that this one is very large, so it's much bigger. Yoda taught us that size matters not, and JJ Abrams says size is everything. So two great philosophers going at it. So it seems unlikely that director JJ Abrams, who also directed The Force Awakens, would once again put planet-destroying lasers at the center of the plot, but it does indicate the strength of this new threat. So here we are back again with something to do with Death Star. It always comes back to the Death Star. I mean, if we take a look at the Death Star compared to, I mean, if these things are going to be Star Destroyers equipped with Death Star laser cannons that can destroy a planet all on their own, how big are these Star Destroyers, right? I mean, we saw the Dreadnought in The Last Jedi, and that was a fairly tremendous ship as far as what we've seen. But I mean, if a regular sized Star Destroyer, I mean, look at the size of the Star Destroyers compared to the Death Star. The Death Star is immense, so these ships would have to be huge, you would think, in a way. I mean, to destroy a whole planet, how are you going to harness that much power in a small vessel to be able to blow away a planet? You know, I mean, the battering ram featured in The Last Jedi, that was a smaller device which took some time to actually penetrate the blast door on the base on Crate. So I mean, Star Destroyer is going to be a far larger ship than that battering ram was that was featured in The Last Jedi, but still, these ships are going to have to be, you would think, immense if they actually have the capability of destroying planets. If it's a lesser cannon that's just able of creating mass destruction, but not quite powerful enough to destroy a planet, to me that seems more feasible. But then again, I mean, these are space wizards with laser swords who move things with their minds, so try not to get too deep into it. But I mean, it just doesn't sound reasonable to equip a whole fleet of ships with some type of Death Star death ray. But I don't know, I guess we'll see what happens when episode 9 comes out. It's funny, of all the movies that have come out and have had some form of Death Star in it, or a callback to the Death Star, or a plot revolving around a Death Star, or whatever the case may be, you look at the one movie that has nothing to do with the Death Star whatsoever, and that's The Empire Strikes Back. And it's widely regarded as, still to this day, the greatest movie in the Star Wars saga. Now, you can ask a whole bunch of people, and some of them will say their favorite is A New Hope, and others will say their favorite is Return of the Jedi. Some might say Revenge of the Sith. Some might say Rogue One. But I think all of those people would agree that The Empire Strikes Back is still a masterpiece as far as Star Wars universe, the cinematic universe of Star Wars is concerned, and no one would discredit that movie as being fantastic. I think even if it's not your favorite, you still see that movie as a benchmark film in the entire saga, and it has nothing to do with the Death Star. So we don't need a big bad giant machine to have a great fantastic movie. I mean that The Empire Strikes Back doesn't feature anything like that, and it holds up all these years later and is still widely regarded, pretty much hands down widely regarded as the best of the bunch. So the problem with Star Wars now is that when the original movies were created, they took their inspiration from other sources, right? Other works of literature, other movies, things that have come before it. The new movies now take their inspiration from Star Wars. So a copy of a copy of a copy at a certain point just becomes, like this article points out, it's a retread. It's too familiar and it doesn't break any new ground. Now, of course, we all like our nostalgia. We all like callbacks because it's fan service. But you can take the story in a different direction or offer a new type of story without doing a disservice to the entire Star Wars legacy and the saga. The Last Jedi tried to do that and failed miserably, but it is possible to offer something different and something new without doing a disservice to the actual Star Wars fan base. It remains to be seen what happens coming up in the future as far as Benioff and Weiss after Game of Thrones. A lot of people lost a tremendous amount of faith. We'll see what happens with The Mandalorian and Jon Favreau and that show. It's all a wait and see at this point. Nobody can really jump the gun and say this is going to be the best thing since, because nobody knows until we actually get into the theater. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this Death Star tech finding its way yet again into another movie, into the final movie of the Skywalker saga. We started with the Death Star in 1977, and we're going to end with the Death Star or some incarnation of its technology in 2019. And it all comes to a close after that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, please comment down below, like the video. It does help with the algorithm and gets it into the eyes of more people. If this is your first time here, please feel free to subscribe. I'll talk to you guys sometime soon. Have a great night. As always, be happy, be safe, be healthy. Take care. Bye.